Hello, and welcome to another episode from the desk of a Navy wife, where you may or may not hear my kiddos in the background. My name is Raina Worthy, and on this podcast, we like to dive deep into the unique challenges, triumphs, and experiences that come with being a military spouse. So kick back, relax, make that cup of coffee, or get that evening dinner ready, and just listen to me in the background. Hello, everyone. Well, today I'm excited to have such a special guest that is near and dear to my heart. We have known each other for some years now and way before we were married to military life. My guest speaker is my sorority sister, and I'm going to be speaking with her on navigating life really in general as a military spouse. So please join me in welcoming Ashley. Ashley, can you please tell our listeners a little bit about you, how long you've been a military spouse, and what branch your spouse is attached to?
Great, I will. Thank you, Raina, again for having me. I'm Ashley Ford. Me and my husband has been together since high school. We got married in September of 2017, and he actually went to boot camp for the Marine Corps in August of 2015.
Oh, wow, since 2015. So it has been about the time, really, after we graduated college and everything, he joined?
2015, I graduated in 2016, so that was right before the year I graduated.
Oh, right before the year. Wow. Okay. So he is attached to marine life, right?
Yes.
Well, can you please share a bit about your journey as a military spouse and what your expectations were before this lifestyle?
Honestly, I didn't have any expectations. I got married. I considered that I got married kind of young. I feel like I was 25. None of my other friends was married. I didn't know any other military wives, so I didn't have any real expectations. I just was like, we love each other. Great, yeah, I'm gonna marry you. So that's just how that went.
Okay.
When I got to our first duty station was Camp Pendleton in Oceanside, California. I did not like Camp Pendleton at all. When I first got to Oceanside, I was super duper homesick. I didn't even know that I was going to be that homesick. It was not a great time in Oceanside. It was kind of rough because I was just really homesick because I really hadn't branched out from home that far ever. The furthest I had been away from home from my immediate family was Grand Valley when I went to Allendale. Other than that, I had never been that far. And it was just it was kind of hard, and it kind of hit me out of nowhere because I didn't think that I was going to react to it in that way.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that because I am familiar with Camp Pendleton, and it's only because I support the military overall as a contractor. So I have heard some things about Camp Pendleton.
Yes.
And you being honest and upfront, a lot of us, again, we don't know what to expect if we're not familiar with military, right? Or what those different services are and what they have to offer. So with you touching on being homesick, we all know home is where the heart is. And with this lifestyle and moving further and further away from home, and years can go on. So, can you please speak to us all about how you cope with homesickness during those relocations and what advice you would give to others going through it?
The main thing I did, how I coped with it, I'm from Detroit, so we usually took regular visits home. It just was convenient, and I know like not everybody is in this situation where they've been with their spouse since high school. Y'all from the same area. So
Right.
for us, I think that was more of a convenience because we could just regularly visit home together. So that's how I kind of navigated through it. I regularly visit home. Like a lot of my close friends and family, I regularly talk to them on the phone because I didn't want to move away and create more distance by not keeping in constant communication. And also, I would also encourage people to have those conversations with your family and let them know that you're homesick. Because I feel like sometimes people think things are fine if you don't say anything. And I think if you communicate that to them as well. So as time went on, I just think with the constant communication, family coming to visit, me going there, it kind of made it better.
And I'm so glad you spoke on that because I think oftentimes if you don't speak up, like you say, your family just thinking all is good,
Mhm.
everything's copacetic. I ain't heard from them. So with you being isolated, can you describe like that time that you felt like that and maybe how you managed those emotions in the beginning?
In Camp Pendleton, I mean, it got really bad. I was like depressed. I was crying and everything like that. I was just like super duper homesick, and how I managed those emotions. I think I talked to my husband about it. That helped a little bit. And then also with me as well, when I first got to Oceanside, what also made me more a little depressed and homesick is because I wasn't working. So I
Mm,
felt very isolated in the fact that I really don't know nobody here. I'm not working. So I started just feeling down because I felt like I wasn't doing everything that I wanted to do for myself. So I just told myself that this is your home now. So you need to operate like that. So when I got to work, I had some really great coworkers that I met when I was working in San Diego. We used to go out. So when I got back to working, I got active in AKA in the chapter that I was a part of down there. So I started getting understanding that this is your home, this is your lifestyle. So you need to get acclimated. So once I got acclimated and working AKA and stuff like that, it got better because I got to meet sorors and coworkers
mm.
that I go out with.
You know what? And I'm so glad that you brought that up and being open and honest with us because oftentimes spouses, I feel like they may not admit to going through a depression and all those things that come with the changes. And I had a similar situation. I went from, Michigan to Florida, haven't lived in Florida for a
Mhm.
span of time. And it was the same thing, like building that community once I started working. Cause same, I was sad. I didn't have a job when I first got there. I was like, am I
Yeah.
gonna get a job? So that new environment and building that relationship with, like you say, like building friends really with your coworkers and joining the chapter. Us luckily being in a sorority, we're all over the map and then some.
Yeah.
So being open to build those relationships in grad chapters, I think is great that you touched on that. So with moving on, like right, starting over in a new community, what have been some of the biggest hurdles you faced when settling into that place and how did you overcome them?
The getting involved really helped. The biggest hurdles, I feel like some of those hurdles I'm still experiencing now. The biggest
Mm,
hurdles to me about moving around for the spouse to me, and every spouse might not have to go through this because some people might be stay at home wives, maybe they have
right.
a work from home job, is the constant feeling like I have to start my career over. I feel like every single duty station I've had to find another job and trying to navigate that and thinking of how to make that a little bit more smoother. That has been hard. And since I've became a mother, childcare has gotten harder too, especially after COVID. Because remember when I first had my first daughter,
Hmm.
getting her into base childcare was super duper easy. They let her right in. It was like, and this was when we were stationed because we went from Camp Pendleton to um Belle Chase. We was in Belle Chase, Louisiana. So
Okay.
that's where we were stationed at next. So when my daughter was going to childcare, it was super easy. Now when we've moved again, it has been very hard to get them in childcare. And with kids, you just have to start over everything, start over the activities, start over
Right.
childcare, start over school. And I think that is, to me, the whole starting over with the work, school, childcare, and stuff. That is the biggest hurdle to me.
I agree 1,000%. I feel like once you up and move, it's more than just signing them up for childcare. It's, do I even trust these people? This is brand new everything. Like, am I gonna like it? Am I getting good vibes? Is my child safe? So I agree. And so with you, because you spoke on really the challenges, can you speak on how important you feel that it is to really build a support network with the community or what strategies you may have discovered or found effective throughout that process?
I feel like it's highly important to build a community because I feel like when we were at our last duty station in Belle Chase, Louisiana, I felt like we were building a good community, making connections at the schools and the daycare. And I really say talking to other military spouses, I really want to make a point at that because I feel like when I was in Oceanside, I didn't really take advantage of that. Trying to make
Mm,
new friends with military spouses. And I think when I was in New Orleans, when we stationed in Belle Chase, that helped because I got to learn different advice. And this was a military spouse that she was also in the military as well. So she
oh,
got to speak
wow.
on like both sides, but
Right.
just giving advice, and she understood what I was saying about career because it just made me feel like I wasn't the only one feeling like this, like that, oh, you have to start over. You really don't feel
Mm,
like you have a career. So I think that helped because she was able to give advice. Okay, when
right.
y'all go here, you should probably do this, or y'all should probably do this. She was just able to give advice to better help navigate it a little bit easier.
And I'm glad you talked on that because again, you may not build, and this is for our listeners, you may not build that relationship that first go around, right? It may be the second place or the third place that you relocate to. And same thing with me in Jacksonville. I didn't know really any military spouses when we were stationed there. And then when we went to Japan, that was that community. That's when I found out there were people that were like us, right? Same
Mhm.
thing. We're all spouses. We're all going through different challenges. And with you talking about career, right? And having to constantly change and things of that nature, how have you managed your career aspirations and what other obstacles have you faced in trying to get to that?
I've really just tried to stay somewhat in the same career path. I double majored in undergrad in criminal justice and sociology, and I have a
Mm-hmm.
master's in public administration. So I started out working with people in custody. I started out trying to maintain that I want to work with people in custody in like sort of a case management role. So
Okay.
I've kind of been able to stay in that kind of role. So I just been trying to be more intentional about the jobs that I apply to. And at first that was kind of hard because I was like, God, it's taking so long. Let me just apply here or apply
Right.
there.
Right.
So, but I've just learned to just stay very intentional about jobs that you want to apply to and don't give up because it's taking too long, because that's how you end up in places that you don't want to end up.
Yes.
So that's just what I've been trying to do, just try to stay headstrong on that. And then I just try to, with the career stuff, if I have some aspirations like school, like right now I'm thinking about going back to school and getting an MSW. I try to plan out some of this stuff before I get to the duty station, because like for me, like with school and stuff, depending on if you have to go in person and things, I just feel like as the spouse, we're on like a time frame. Plan out things so that, okay, if I know I only got four, because my husband usually do 4-year contracts at a
Mm-hmm.
time. If I
Mm-hmm.
only got 4 years here, I want to make sure that I have this planned out so when I get there, I can just get the ball rolling. I just try to plan better and just be more intentional.
I was just going to say that I love that. So that's good advice to spouses. Be intentional, do that planning. And I feel like it's okay for us to be picky. We still have
Yeah.
goals, we still have aspirations, and not settling, I think, is going to be so much beneficial in the long run, following through with your aspirations.
Yeah.
You did speak on childcare. You mentioned you're little here. So I'm going to shift gears here a little bit and dig more into that. If you could share with our listeners about how many children you have and how have your children been able to adapt to this lifestyle of being a military family.
So I have two children. I have a 2-year old and I have a 5-year old. Now, with them being that age, so my 5-year old just started school in August.
Okay.
Daycare was crazy this time around getting them in because it was such a long wait list.
Mm-hmm.
But now, even though with the change, and I haven't felt like it has gotten too rough, but I feel like now that I have a school age child, it's going to be totally different now when we
Right.
move, because now you just got to think about, okay, when you move, you got to hop on top of registration. So I feel like now that I have a school age child, I think it might. I'm hoping that it don't be difficult, but I think it's going to change the experience, because I feel like with daycare, it's been semi difficult, but not, I feel like, as much as it could be difficult with this. And maybe I'm just
Right.
overthinking it, but I just think that I with the school age child, it might be a little different. So I'm eager to see how that's going to be during the next
Mm-hmm.
month. Yeah.
Yes, like right now you're kind of still in that beginning phase, but I agree with you. Like once they start noticing that they're moving constantly and the
Yeah.
friends that they just met, they have to leave again. Having those open conversations with them when they're of age to understand, I think is going to be really beneficial because then it'll allow you to really tap into how they're feeling, their emotions, and this whole change and constant movement. You're familiar with my daughter. She is 7 and now she's definitely more vocal.
Yes.
with with not, she's not a fan, but every child is different. Some children like to go, like she likes the moving and exploring other places, but she doesn't like leaving her friends. That's the downside. So with our frequent moving, I was trying to maintain those relationships as we go on. Can you tell us how you decided or how you have been able to stay connected with your loved ones, or how have you been able to stay connected with your relationships?
I think that I just have been blessed with a pretty good support system. So I just think that a lot of my family is very supportive. They come visit. Like my support system, like my line sisters, we stay connected.
Right.
My friends, we stay connected. I just feel like it hasn't been too hard. And I just think that once I started communicating, it got even better. And I don't even think that they were the problem. I think I was the problem. I think
Mm-hmm.
I more so just got depressed and got down without even giving it a chance,
Right.
at all. Cause I just feel like I never had a huge issue with feeling like people were distant during this time. And I just think that we just have a good support system and we've been blessed. And also, like I was saying in the beginning, we're from the same area. So if we want to go visit, it's just so much easier for us to both just go home because that's where both of our immediate family is.
Right, right. And for our listeners here, with us being in a sorority, when we mention line sisters, we're speaking on the individuals that have came through the process of becoming a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha with us at the same time. So she's basically Ashley speaking on her sisterhood, being able to have that relationship with them. So Ashley, with you kind of feeling like in the beginning you distanced yourselves and thing of that nature. How did you get through that portion, like of not distancing yourself from everybody?
How I deal with any kind of issue, I'm a talker. I'm really not a person who likes to sit in things. That's what anything. Like I like to voice
Mm-hmm.
how I'm feeling. So
Right.
I feel like even though I was depressed and I was crying and stuff, I don't feel like I sat in it too long without being
Okay.
vocal about it. So
Okay.
I think that's how I got through it. And that I just started speaking up. I would talk to sorority sisters and my friends, my husband, my mom, and tell them how I feel because when they would call, they could hear in my voice that something was wrong. So
Right.
I just was open about it and talked about it.
And with us, we often have to be resilient, right? That's key to us really navigating this challenge as a
Yeah.
military spouse and in this life. So, aside from like really speaking up and advocating for yourself, what are some self-care practices or routines that may have helped you to stay resilient during those difficult times?
I try to, keep at that time I was really big into nails and getting my hair done and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
at that time I just used to keep up with that. And also just I'm a person who likes to have equal time of each thing. So what I mean by that is like I believe that especially in your relationships when you get married or even
Hmm.
in the boyfriend girlfriend stage, like you should have your family time, your friend time, and your me time and then your couples time. So I
Mm.
try to make do with the best of that. So sometimes friend time or girl time with me would even be going to sorority meetings, hanging out with sorority sisters, hanging out with my coworkers. And then me and my husband would try to do regular date nights. All of that stuff was a part of self-care for me because it was getting back to some kind of normalcy for me because that's how I used to live my life when I was in Detroit. So that really
Hmm.
helped me feel like I was giving myself self-care when I practiced those things.
So you basically were balancing. You were
Yes.
trying to balance everything, but you made the time to say, okay, I'm gonna have my sister time, I'm gonna have my friend time, my family time, whatever the case may be. And I feel like often spouses forget that. They just focus on, okay, if the kids are good and my spouse is good, I'm good. And it's like, no, you left yourself out of the equation. Did you notice that? So I'm so glad that you mentioned that reaching out, speaking up, advocating, and really taking the time to take care of you really is beneficial.
Yes.
So, my final question for you through this entire process, if you could go back and give advice to yourself when you first became a military spouse, what would it be? And what advice would you give to someone who's new to this part of lifestyle?
If I could go back, that's a good question. I I would just tell myself to just calm down. Everything is gonna work out how it's supposed to work out. Just communicate with your spouse, communicate with others. Don't get yourself too down. It's okay if you need to seek therapy because it's a big adjustment. So I just feel like it's okay for people to be down. I just think being vocal about it, I would tell myself just to calm down because I feel like also I kind of made it worse with me worrying and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And I think as far as giving advice to new people in the situation, I would just say communicate with your partner. I think communication is key. I think that as a military spouse, your opinions and how you feel is always valid because a lot of the times I feel like we are a huge support system to our
Right.
spouses, whether we got kids or not, because especially when we do have kids, because a lot of the things like my husband, he's now in a deployable unit. Do you know how hard it would be for them to deploy if he was the primary caregiver to his
Right.
children? He couldn't do this. So I just think like communicating with your partner and understanding that yes, you have to move around. They have a contract with the military, but your wants, your needs, your goals are still valid. So you need to be voicing those because if you don't speak up, then people just think everything is fine.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, thank you so much for giving that advice to everyone. I feel like in the beginning, because I'm gonna admit, I was stressed, same as you, stressed. I was like, I
Mhm.
don't know about this.
Yeah.
And that it did nothing. And so
Mhm.
through the years, you kind of learn to go with the flow because you're gonna have to anyway as a spouse.
Yes.
You're gonna be moving, you're gonna be starting all over. But I feel like you're gonna learn so much about yourself and really become stronger through the process too of being a spouse.
Yes.
I just want to thank you again for joining me on talking about military life, being a military spouse, and being married to this lifestyle. Do you want to say goodbye to our listeners?
Yes, goodbye. Thank you so much again, Raina, for having me. I think this is a great podcast. I think that having something for military wives, I don't see a lot of spaces for military wives to speak up.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to just thank you for creating this because I think that there's a lot of wives that probably feel this way and need a place to communicate. So I hope you get more wives to come talk to you as well. And if I know of anybody and I will send them your way if you would like to. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. And thank you again for joining me today. And thank you to my listeners for tuning in. Thank you all again for tuning in this week. I look forward to bringing you resources, support, and laughter. Sending my love from the desk of a Navy wife.